Right. Good evening, everyone. Let me know if the sound is okay for you guys that are on the fast connections, not the dial up there. Poor Sean. Sound is good? Nice, thank you, Quinn. That man. Fast people, right? Sean hasn't even heard this conversation yet. His dial up is still going. Poor Sean. Like upstate Michigan. They barely have, they barely have cars up there. He hasn't caught on yet because he's still delayed. Look at this. I see Will in here. I don't see Ernest in here. So Will is accumulating pip chips faster than Ernest now. Ugh. Wow, the tea was hotter than I thought it was. Ouch. Oh. See, look, Sean just caught up. There you go. Ernest, I just want to let you know that Will acquired a little bit more pip chips than you. It's all about commitment. Ernest is probably outside trying to finish the cigar off. Oh, God, that hurt. Oh, wrong pipe. All right, guys. So, rate cut +1. I'm looking at the market. Nothing actually hit its ATR for today. So again, a little bit more muted of a day, but again, it was back and forth, up and down. Multiple pairs that I looked at today were bouncing and kind of springing back and forth. Some of the zones we marked off last night got broken. A bunch of them got hit. A few of them actually went above where we needed them to go. And again, for the most part, I mean, it's kind of what we've seen. Kind of a trader's day, kind of back and forth. Aussie Swiss is one of those pairs that literally bounced back and forth off a level that we had last night. Oil, as you guys saw, went all the way to its 5-to-1 target, then bounced, then retested, then bounced again. Overall, though, I mean, look at the markets. I mean, supposedly the world is ending, but I mean, look at this non-farm employment change. We're hiring more people than we had before. Manufacturing, look at this. I'd be shocked if this doesn't get adjusted next time. But man, it was supposed to be a little bit low. Look at this. Non-manufacturing PMI came in at 57.3. That's awesome. I mean, that's great, right? Crude oil came in just slightly lower. Again, nothing stupid there. And then Aussie trade balance. And Aussie's trade balance actually came in better than expected, right? And there was a prior adjustment up. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. And look, BOE Boss Billy does not back immediate virus rate cut. So I don't know. I guess it is what it is, guys. Like I said, I don't know. I had this conversation with Jack earlier today. He's like, wait, but it's serious. I was like, but it's only old people. He's like, but it's serious. It's 3.4. I was like, I guess, but I don't know. I mean, I don't trust any of the numbers. We don't know what the real totals are. China's hiding things, Yes, people are dying, but at a low rate, but people die every day of stuff, It's like, I don't know. You're going to die one day. That's just how it works, I was like, but when it just seems like it's affecting the elderly and other people are surviving, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think the 0.5 rate cut was great. I don't think it was a good idea. I think it's going to give inflation. I think it's going to jack the markets. I'm pretty sure the Republicans are going to claim, that they increased it even more, but this was kind of a Fed thing. I don't know. And I did make the comment too that, it's interesting now that we had Blueburn drop out today. So now we're down to just three, right? Three old rich white guys. And one of them wants to burn the entire stock market down. So it's interesting that they're cutting rates, which is going to jack the stock market, only for the other guy to completely burn it down. I'm not sure how that works. And I mentioned that to a friend of mine today. I was like, yeah, it's very, very interesting, I mean, again, between, Biden and Bernie, her opinion was that Biden is going to take the nomination. Bernie's going to have more delegates, but they're going to rip him off again and give it to Biden. But but according to the polls, Sanders is the only one that can beat Trump. But it goes back to, well, if they vote in Sanders just because it's not Trump and they're voting for that color, just it doesn't matter who's in. Remember last time in 2008 when the market got cut in half, how miserable every single person was? It didn't matter if you had all your money in a 401k. Not everybody was miserable, right? But that's what's going to happen. So I'm like, I don't know. We're jacking these rates up for, who knows? So it's all over the place. Yeah, Mini Mike is out. Yeah, I think Mini Mike played. I think he played the odds a little bit too close, right? He's like, you know what? I'm gonna swoop in at the end. I'm gonna drop a bunch of money, and I'm just gonna take it. I don't think he took it serious enough. I think if he would have handled it more like Trump kind of handled it from the very very beginning, I think he had the best chance of actually taking that side. Um, but again, at the same time, it's hard because that whole side was like, I hate, we shouldn't have a businessman. Well, that was Bloomberg. So I mean, I don't know. It's totally messed up. I just don't know how we ended up with the three candidates right now that we have. Of all the people in the United States, we ended up with these three candidates. Yeah, and the big joke is, is Biden going to remember that he's running for president by summer, right? He wanted to lighten up his account, maybe tax purposes, right? Could be tax reasons, right? Anyway, looking across, again, we're seeing some pound strength come in here today, right? You see the pound dollar up, you see the euro pound down, and pound yen up 46, 50, and 64 respectively. That's really the only thing that we really had much movement in, right? Euro dollar kind of retraced a little bit. This one retraced a little bit. This one's down a tad. This one is up, right? Little dollar strength over here. Little dollar weakness over here against the Aussie. But again, some of that is due to this trade balance, and you guys can see, a little bit of movement there. So again, not a horrible day. I mean, news-wise, you're pretty good. Oil wasn't bad. Like I said, nice little oil trade. I told you guys last night, I was looking at those 30-minute zones, and I didn't care which one we got into. And again, that's what trading should be, guys. You shouldn't have a predetermined, like, I really, really want to go long this no matter what, and then find something. It's about finding the correct trade setup. And I said, I don't care. Top or bottom, those would be my long and shorts. And I wanted to rally into that right before news. And it did. 30 minutes beforehand, it started moving a little bit, but then came back up, got in that 30-minute zone, and then collapsed back down again. So, I mean, again, it was a setup exactly how we talked about it last night, even though it didn't necessarily match what the number said, right? Technically, oil prices should have went up today, not down. And that's not the direction they went in after this news. Again, can't always look at this and be like, oh, that's it. It's good for oil prices. Well, it's going down. All right. So going into tomorrow. Tomorrow is basically all about talking. Meetings. We have the BOE speaking, the BOC speaking, and FOMC all in the same day. So it's a lot of people talking. A lot of, analysis by, the media. And then tomorrow night we have retail sales. So the only thing I'm really excited for tomorrow night is the retail sales numbers. Remember, I won't be around tomorrow night. Eva's going to run Chart School tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. I'll actually be just sitting down for a youth lacrosse referee meeting, something like that. I don't know. I'm going to make sure that I'm, well adult beverage before I get there. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those nights. I have a headache tonight. I think it's just in preparation for tomorrow night. But hopefully Eva doesn't have any problems. Like I said, I won't be around, so hopefully she doesn't have any issues. Sean, thank you for posting that, by the way. I appreciate that. Yes, I caught the Shaquille O'Neal episode, Ernest. I still think Terry Crews though is the funniest. He's like crying and hallucinating. I think it's absolutely hysterical. Natalie Portman took it like a beast. She was just unreal. I just watched Russell Brand too. It's pretty funny. But yes, thank you. If you guys can do that same thing tomorrow night, I appreciate that. Like I said, she'll probably start just a couple minutes before, but if you guys could post that in Discord, that would be hugely helpful because I won't even be near her computer. So hopefully she has no problems. She should just be able to click the button and go. Again, definitely hype it up. Anybody that invite them out tomorrow. It's always great when we have Eva on, so we want to make sure we take advantage of it. But yeah, so that's what we got. I'm telling you, the most excited thing. I'm not going to be able to trade tomorrow. All right. Unfortunately, I won't be able to get into there. So I'm going to see if I don't burn myself. Hold on. Ooh, man, I put water in there. It was just a little bit too hot today. Besides that, you guys are seeing, BOC over Z overnight. We knew that was coming. Look at this, and we need more evidence before coronavirus. Again, that's probably not a bad idea. I love this. He suspends this campaign, but it's kind of like, yeah, just say he quit. Just say he quit, I don't know. I was never a big Bloomberg fan. So again, rather muted. Tomorrow, resale sales is the best number. And then going into Friday, obviously I won't be around tomorrow night. So I want to make sure that we cover this. Friday, though, obviously this is the first Friday, non-farm employment change. The unemployment rate is going to be a big deal. But again, you're seeing it across the board. So analyzing Friday, because again, this is the last chart school I'll see you guys for this week. Again, things to look for. The employment change in Canada should be interesting. They just did a rate cut, so this is going to be a little bit funky. But check out the unemployment rate. They're actually forecasting that it's going to be a higher rate this time, right? Going from 0.55 to 0.56. That's probably going to hurt them a bit, as well as, cutting the rates is really not the best thing for the CAD. But again, cutting rates and having unemployment, that could be a recipe for the CAD to kind of, again, show some weakness, right? Then, if you look down into the employment change numbers, again, 175 is not bad. The employment rate is not expected to change. Last time we ended up going up a little bit. I don't know if we'll have any change in that yet. Eh, I, we'll see. I don't know if it's going to be as explosive there. I think tomorrow that the currency, or on Friday, the currency to watch is going to be the Canadian dollar. We'll see more as we get into that. But after that, obviously, it kind of flatlines. You can see based off of my settings in here. You know, basically we have the orange and there's nothing there. I mean, if I click yellow, you can see there's a bit more, but none of it is really great. I mean, consumer credit's not big, wholesale inventories, nothing too crazy. Trade balance, not a big deal for us. And again, a lot of these, the European balances and reserves and stuff. So really, there's nothing even hidden in there inside of the yellows. This is it. We got 8:30 in the morning, and then for the rest of the day, it's just gonna, how do we close the week? And again, we'll cover that inside of the Dow. All right. Looking at the scanner is kind of it's kind of set on boring mode. Okay, if you don't believe me, check this out. Look at the majors: consolidation, 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 consolidation. Only two things confirmed. Again, the CAD, we know what's going on there, and then obviously the Swiss is to the downside. Basically because we are seeing some dollar strength come back into the market on multiple different pairs. And again, nobody's attacking anybody else because everybody's afraid of the coronavirus right now. Look at the Eurobasket, right? Eurobasket, look at this consolidation all the way down, kind of sideways, upward bias. The only thing we have is the euro yen is confirmed down, and that one at least is pretty steady. Everything else is just bam on the daily, just consolidated, right? Not much movement. CAD basket, nothing, 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 nothing. Confirmed down, downtrend set up, and then obviously dollar CAD is up. So again, a lot of boring there. Aussie, one setup, one anchor break, both to the top side, again, versus the yen and versus the New Zealand. Again, we saw the yen on fire last week. It's kind of rebounding since that time. And again, this one is mixed, right? We have down, up, up, consolidation, down, down. So again, it looks like this one will continue to push the downside. And this one was literally back and forth today. Looking at the pound basket, again, we have downtrend setup, downtrend setup, downtrend setup, and we can tell that because, again, when we look up top, you can see that we have things pushing in the upward direction, right? Now, we do have consolidation in the yen. Again, only 63 pips today. And again, that number is a little bit skewed, as you guys can see, if you look up top. In 24 hours, it's up 46 pip, or 46%. But you guys can see in the last 60 minutes, there's obviously some red in there. So again, this is kind of retracing back again. Some of it, or actually, I guess actually it's pulling down based off of the overall day. So it was actually a bit higher than that, which is not horrible, right? But again, downtrend setup with uptrends on the lower time frame, downtrend setup with confirmed on the lower time frame. CAD we know, and then again the consolidation with these three pairs, right? And again, up 46 pips on this one is not bad, but look at this, consolidation, consolidation, consolidation. So yesterday was like the big day where everybody did all kinds of crazy stuff, and then today, much more muted, which means I believe because today was low, we'll see what's able to do tomorrow, but if tomorrow is another kind of muted day, Friday should be, the Friday European session would probably be a pretty good time to get some pips in if you guys aren't already, maxed out for the week. I was signed into Twitch, but, had me as offline. Sanders can't beat anyone. I don't know, Ernest. Sanders is the only one in the polls that is technically. Even last time they were said that according to all the polls, Sanders was the only one that could win, or only one that could beat Trump. Everybody, all the polls said that except the ones that Hillary used. What we got? Did they announce it on the news tonight? And then there were. Can you go over how to find these supply and demand areas? Sure, trader. I can cover some of it. I can't cover it all, obviously, in the hour that we're together, but I can talk about what it is and kind of how to start locating it yourself. There's more to it than just the basic, hey, listen, this is supply, this is demand, but I'll do the best I can for you tonight. Also, guys, not that I use too much, not that I really use YouTube that much right now currently for much more than kind of like a video kind of library at this point. I do have some great videos planned over there, and we've been slowly getting our follower count up. Once you hit 100 pips, you actually get a branded channel there. It's just not the generic kind of letters. We're actually 4 follows from getting that one to 100. And like I said, I do have a lot of video ideas that I put up. I just got to get some recording done. Again, the start of lacrosse season and this tournament thing that I had to plan for the team has had me really bogged down for the last couple of weeks. But so if you know anybody that likes trading, or maybe your wife has an account, head over to the YouTube channel and give us a follow. Once we hit that 100, it makes it a lot easier for me to kind of put videos and do the promotion on it and things like that. Because the links are basically going to change is what happens once we go over 100. So we're four follows from being able to do it right now. So like I said, wife, kid, go over there and give us a follow. Help us get over 100, and we're good to go. All right, so let's jump into the charts. Let's move this over here. Let's see. I'll put that down here. I have so many things. You know what? I never said I would go above three monitors, but I really feel like I need to go above three monitors. I'm kind of at that stage now where I'm like, I really need just one more. I think one more it would work well, but man, it's already getting crazy. I have two ultra wides and then one standard, and I'm like, oh god, well, it's a wide, but not an ultra wide. But I'm like out of space. I'm like, man, we're getting ready actually to put the boys downstairs, and when we do that, I'm gonna move Asher's desk. Asher has his gaming desk behind me, so I want to move them. I'm gonna move them into the basement. I'm gonna like basically redo this entire room, make it a little bit better for green screening. They're gas and center, so I can bust in a ball of flames. I just can't believe the things that the dude said so far. All right, let's look at Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar again, we took that bounce. We've been pulling up again. We're starting to see a little bit of a pullback now. So drop into the 4 hour. You guys can see there wasn't really any great levels in here that we talked about. And again, you guys can see where we were last night. Really not much movement, right? There's not not too much going on here. Here's where we were last night. We've gone up a total of what, 10 pips. So really nothing to really write home about. Even on the lower time frames, you can see again we're not pushing as high as this pump. And again, we've been kind of moving up slowly. All right. Now, trader 003 here. Basically, okay, you're asking how do we find these supply and demand zones? So there's a couple different ways we draw the supply and demand zones, but what we're looking for is large kind of movements in price is the best way to say it. So like this is a situation right here. That's kind of what I'm talking about. So there are different types of setups. This is an example of what's called a drop, sideways, and drop, or drop base rally, right? So there's different formations. One of them obviously is in kind of a, obviously it's this. It drops and is a U shape, right? Then there's an upside down U, which is an up, sideways, and down. And then there's this, or this steps, right? Any form of those combinations of a rally, a basing, and obviously a drop are the three things they can be. So there's four different combinations, right? What you're looking for is large explosive movements of price. Like right here, this is a large extended range, extended bodied candle. This is really nothing, right? There's nothing in here, not, these little things here, but typically what you do is we're able to find these zones more or less kind of tops and bottoms. You look for points, and that's why we use Japanese candlesticks. So what we're doing is we're looking for basically areas of indecision. And when you see the candles, right, the solid candles, what you're doing is you're seeing agreement between buyers and sellers, right? Price move in that one direction and continue to push. When you see wicks up, it's kind of people grasping for straws, right? And typically when prices, if there was enough people buying, price would have went all the way and stayed here. It would have been one solid candle. So wicks are also important in when you're doing this, but you're looking for areas. And again, there's an indicator on here right now that's actually showing you. Actually, let me pull this back again. I'll say that should be over there. There's an indicator it's taking readings of how this enters the area, how it bases, and how it leaves, or if it's coming up sideways. So it's taking some additional readings in there, and there's different ways that you form them. So in this case, there's not a whole lot of great examples. I mean, there's a small zone here, but again, it's very, very muted for the day. There's just not enough really there. Even on the 30-minute, you can see here that it's not even pulling back. It's just more or less forming kind of a basing level. So really no trend. And again, what we do here is we try to, focus on trends, picking tops and bottoms, but, taking advantage of a trending state, right? There is really no trending state right now. It's not really doing much. It's marked as an uptrend setup on the 4 hour. Because it's here. Because again, it's pushing up and it's giving us a red pullback, although it's already technically broken. So it's great, but again, we're in the middle. We're not necessarily, close to anything. So, just because it says it's an uptrend setup doesn't mean we really want to take anything. And this kind of is weird. So obviously you see it's not marked off. We're not using. So Aussie dollar, not really any trade setups for tonight. Like I said, it's only up basically 9 pips from where we were last night. Just not enough meat in this one. It's only really been going back and forth, and it's gone back and forth in a 15 pip range. So no trade setups on that. Looking at Aussie New Zealand, we'll go back up to the daily. So Aussie New Zealand has broken through that kind of area that we had marked off. Okay, it hit it, came back again. Now it's broken through on the daily, but it pulled instantly right back again, which shows you again, yes, there was a gap here. There's some orders there, and those gaps they actually stepped in. So on the 4 hour, you can see again, it did push through, but one of the things that we talk about in those Harry Potter or the momentum breakout trades is we need some type of black space, right? Underneath of it, or in my case, it's black space. If you're using white charts, it would be white space under there. We're not getting that kind of clearance from this area. And even if you drop down to an hourly, Do you guys see any clearance in here? Answer is no, not really, right? It peeked its head up, shot right back down again. Came up and immediately popped back down to the area. Came up, popped right back down to the area. Went all the way back up, popped down to the area. So it's not actually forming any type of space in there, showing us that it's actually leaving the area. It's basically probing these orders above, which we know again is, again, look at the daily. You guys can see there is a gap sitting right here. Okay, so it is pushing up, it is touching this gap, and it's filling the gap, but then it's immediately being hammered back down again. Oh God, that scared me. I forgot I changed that. Nick's welcome, buddy. All right, so as far as what we can do with this one, it's kind of the same idea on the 30-minute. Not really anything here. There's really no trend. It's more or less moving sideways. And again, if it's not trending, there's no driving force behind it. Remember, big money moves markets. If it's not moving, there's typically not big money there. It's not necessarily the best time to get into this one. So Aussie, New Zealand, again, it's high on the curve here. You can see it's kind of low on the daily, and again, we're hitting that gap area. If I had to make a call on this one, what my bias is, I would say I'm probably more bearish bias just because we've seen this gap fill kind of start hammering price back down again. I mean, and when I say hammer, I mean every time it pushes up, it gets slammed right back down again. It's not moving far in the other direction, but the question is how much can the buyers hold up before the pressure of this being pushed down will turn this and flip this back down again? Is kind of what I'm getting at, all right? Aussie yen. So Aussie yen, okay, this one again, this is pulling back, and this one is actually, its bounce has been a little bit more positive, right? We're getting a nice big green, a red, a nice big green, and then small red. So we are getting the impulse corrections like we should be getting on the daily, for a reversal. As you can see here on the 4-hour, we've hit this zone a few times and we've bounced and gone through it. This one also needs to be reset. Okay, we put the time in. You guys can see here is where we were last night, kind of in this range, right? And it's not even, and again, that level that disappeared, that was a level that I drew, not the actual indicator drew. Okay. So we move them up. I mean, we're about 24 pips higher than where we are. And again, if you have a 30 pip target a day, probably not the best idea for you, right? Looking at this one on the hourly, you can see that we pulled back slightly, right? It's kind of like, it's not bad, right? I mean, but here's a low, here's a higher low, here's a higher low, and a higher low. So you could say that we are in somewhat of an ascending kind of channel, but is it really that great? I mean, here and one pop. So really for me on this one, I don't really have a whole lot to trade on it. I just don't see any really super clean zones. I mean, yeah, you could say, hey, wait, that's pretty clean. The indicator picked it out. Maybe, but look to the left. I mean, it was here, it was here, it was here. It's bounced it a few times already. So, I mean, I can't say that that's a really high quality level. And even looking at the top, looking to get short in something, I don't even really have anything great on the top, right? I mean, this is a super tiny level. Didn't really quite get a retest. This is really not a good level at all. So, I like this pair. I'm a big fan of this pair, but, even stretching it out, I just can't. There's nothing really super clean in this one, so we're going to have to show a bit of patience on it. Again, it's got a bit to retrace, but, I can't even, unfortunately, even on these lower time frames, there's not even really like a great area where we want to get in. I mean, I don't think this one, let me see, did it mark that one? Yeah, it did have that one marked. So, I mean, that was about the best level that we had in here based off of the way that this shot out. And that was about 2 o'clock in the morning last night. So if you're up at 2 o'clock, you may have gotten into that trade. You were golden there. In one candle, you actually hit all the way up to your 1 to 5. So that was about the best thing we got on there. And you can see now which level is cleaner, this level or that level, right? This one is much cleaner than this one is. Okay. This one I like. I'm not as big a fan of that one. Okay. So that's kind of what we got going here. All right. Let's take back test off. Let's look down at Aussie CAD. So Aussie CAD is a little bit different in the fact that it's actually come hitting things on the daily. All right, so we had a wick over wick here, and we drove into it, and it literally shot right back out of it, and that was last night. Now today, we drove back into it again, and we're kind of getting stuck at the top end of it. So you can see, here's that level of basing. It doesn't mark it here because it was a number of candles. It actually doesn't meet the parameters. One of the parameters we set in there was to, actually, it's off the bottom there. I also changed this color so I could see it a little bit differently. Back in silver. Yeah, silver's good. We can see silver. Too many candles in this base, so the indicator actually will not
will not paint something that is that many candles in a row. It's one of the things that Matt programmed in. But we're sitting back at that same area again. We had this, this pull away from it last night. We're having a little bit of problems now with it. So I would say, if anything, I'm bearish in this position right now. I don't think it's a bad position. You guys can see it here. That again, I'll remove my silver zone, and you can see kind of what we ran into. All right. Um, Now, I probably wouldn't use that little tiny sliver. I probably would have increased it a little bit more. But that's, as you guys can see, that's what we're running into, right? That's what we're running into right now. Here's the 30-minute. Actually, hold on, let me reset. 30-minute actually blows it up. But on the hourly, you guys can see, we're literally kind of hitting that tiny area. It's 3 pips. So we're obviously not taking it for 3 pips because it's a less than 25% of the ATR. But it does look like it wants to turn and flip. So if you are able to get some type of a short position in this one, you do have approximately 50 pips to run. I think this is not a bad target, taking us to the opposing zone. A lot of times we talk about, taking them here, and that's about 30 pips. So, if you're looking to target this one would not be bad. Take one set of profit off here and take another set of profit off down here before this opposing zone. Obviously, your risk level, you could use either one of these two. Again, even if you take both of them, you're talking about 9 pips. So doing something along the lines of probably this, really probably there is probably the best. Again, probably tighten this up a little bit, right? So if you were in this position, again, you had plenty of time to get into it. It bounced literally back and forth in that area. Your 1 to 3 is set fine based off that risk level. Your 1 to 5 is also in a good position. I would probably even hold it down to a 1 to 6. 1 to 6 would probably make the most sense. Take it out before the opposing zone. But that's the best Aussie trade we have right now. You guys can see on the 30-minute, the Aussie Swiss is actually just been kind of going back and forth between these two zones. This one is only about a 20 pip range, and you guys can see it's got about 7-8 pips risk. So it really doesn't meet the our kind of prereq of being at least a 1 to 3 in both directions. Looking on the daily, you can see that, again, this one is also rallying back. Not surprised. Again, Australia hasn't sunk. It's not underwater. Don't know what's going on with the koala in the water bottle, but, again, right now it seems like it is getting a bit of a pullback. Again, this was the virus shock, and now the virus shock is doing a bit better. So daily, there's really not a great level. Even on the 4-hour, there's really nothing super clean in here that I would say like, hey, that's a great place to get into it. The hourly, again, we have the one area here, but besides that, there's a little zone here. I mean, you could potentially take something off of that zone right there if you're looking to get into a little bit more aggressive entry. But we got to see how it forms on the top side, right? If it comes up and it bases right here below this zone, then it's not valid to take. It shows you that there's buyers coming up and kind of pushing price up, preparing to punch through these levels to the top side. On the 30-minute, again, that's what I just had up. You guys can see there's really nothing. It's again, push down, pop, boom, boom. I mean, it's bouncing. It's going sideways. There's just not enough in there. And again, you guys see this on the daily. It's what do we got here? Got about 44 pips, but most of it is just, it's the grind from this area down, right? And then the pullback. So, really not a ton. Aussie Singapore. So on the hourly, do we have a trend here? No. I mean, you can see one at the bottom and one in the bottom's right here. So, nope, not trading that. The Aussie CAD is literally the only thing that we have in some type of a setup possibility or setup chance right now. Heading. Okay. All right. So, CAD pairs. So you guys can see CAD yen had this. Better word, it fell off the cliff just like the Dow. Okay, it ended up all the way up, came all the way back down again, and then today it kind of popped, and now it's kind of muting it down on that demand zone. On the 4-hour, you can see it's kind of the same thing, right? We're here, we gapped all the way down, we popped up, came back down, hit the same level, popped up, came back down, and didn't go quite as low, pushed up, and we're kind of sitting there. So again, looking at these tops, again, we're getting lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. It looks like this thing is wanting to push the downside. Now, it held here. It actually did not go as deep, but it looks like it wants to kind of punch through this level, right? It looks like it wants to go through. It is a downtrend setup on the daily and weekly. It has driven very, very deep into that zone. So,
with the Canadian news tomorrow expected to not be great and the unemployment rate not to be great, I would expect this to probably fail tomorrow morning. Unless there's a magical surprise and the unemployment rate stays at 5.5, which will bring pound strength back in, I see this level failing tomorrow. Okay, it's got too much kind of going against it. Again, the market is forecasting the bad news already. Um, so we'll see how low it actually goes in there. But things like the trade balance and unemployment change, I mean, we'll see how much those actually, make a big difference. As well as if the U.S. numbers are good, again, if we get some, yen strength because of the dollar numbers, I also can see this kind of collapsing and dropping through the floor tomorrow. So we'll see. I mean, there's a slight backstop below, but I don't see like a huge candle. We're not going to pop up over here tomorrow. Unless the unemployment rate is like really, really crazy with CAD strength. Uh, so we'll see. But like I said, I think this zone is more or less toast. Not really a great entry here. As you guys can see, here's what the 1 hour looks like. The indicator marked this one off because of the way that it exited, but it did spend a lot of time here, as well as you guys can see there's a basing level right behind it. So you could have drawn the zone off this piece right here, and then this was all basically retests of that zone. And it went down and hit the bottom. So, we could use this as a break. This zone is about 20 pips on the hourly. So, I mean, the thing's been moving. If anything, one of the ways that we could look to play this tomorrow is in a downward position like this, right? Look for a break of this zone and then take this to the short side. It may happen in the overnight, though. That's the only problem with this one. But again, this is something that I'm going to look at before. This gives you the most insulation to trade just pure CAD news. Again, there is a little bit of a yen component in there. But again, if you want to trade the CAD news, you're not going to do it in the dollar CAD because that's a dual pair. You're going to trade it in this one. So this is the one that we need to look at first thing in the morning. And again, you're going to want to be looking at this thing at 8 o'clock because these things have been spiking in a little bit early. All right. CAD Swiss, kind of the same thing, but just not the violent retraces back again. It's been pushing higher, pushing lower. Yesterday, even though it was green, it did push lower in this kind of sequence. You guys can see it here. I mean, this has been a grind, right? Been pushing up, fight, and lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low. And it's almost kind of like an equidistant channel. Like, I mean, I guess, I guess I should put that there. But you guys can see it's more or less inside of an equidistant channel. There you go. And again, we missed the top side just by a little bit. It's not perfect, but you guys can see that there's the angle. That's kind of what we've been sitting inside of. All right. And I can see, like I said, I don't see anything with CAD tomorrow that looks like it's going to be surprising. I think this one will continue to head to the downside. So, yeah, it's kind of what we got going right now with this one. Even on the lower time frames, I don't think there's not much I would sit there and trade. Like I said, happy with this 1 hour zone, very clean zone. I'm good with this one. If we get a pop because of the CAD news, again, I would be looking to take that one short. The entry in that would be 72.29 to 72.49, a little 20 pip zone up there on top. And again, Swiss is basically kind of like a neutral at this point. We're not seeing strength in it, and there's no geopolitical news, particularly with the CAD. So there's no reason. I mean, unless somebody chooses missiles at somebody else tomorrow, I don't see the CAD being too much of a thing. Also, remember that CAD news is not till Friday. Tomorrow's only Thursday, so we'll have to see where we kind of iron out. All right. But again, this is a pretty nice zone. Keep this one marked off. If we continue to see weakness to the downside, this is still a valid zone if we get a pop on Friday. Okay. Looking at the Swiss, like I said, the Swiss is more or less neutral at this point. You guys can see on the daily, again, it's consolidating as well. You're seeing higher lows, you're seeing lower highs. That zone up top is still valid. We have obviously not gotten in there in the last day. On the lower time frame, going into the 4 hour, this is kind of what we're looking at. We had a zone marked off lower, didn't even make it there. We just kind of stayed inside this range. Didn't even hit the top, right? We ended up getting front run. Well, I didn't get front run, but if you would have tried to take this trade, you would have got front run here. And then again, we were able to go off the bottom piece. Hourly, it gives you the same idea. But check this out. This is the hourly that we marked off last night. Didn't hit the top, didn't hit the bottom, came up and got close. But again, it's consolidating down. You guys can see the highs are getting lower, the lows are getting higher, and kind of forming into that wedge, that kind of like point pattern, pointing towards the future. Going to need something to move this one out. And again, most likely this will be non-farm payroll. Again, non-farm payroll will directly affect the dollar, directly affect the U.S. stock market, and in turn affects the yen. That's going to be probably the catalyst for this one. Nothing really that screams, yeah, that's a good one, right? As you bottom, and we just stayed right in the middle and actually formed a new zone in the middle. So, wah, wah, wah. But again, it's Swiss yen. I don't know if you guys are all trading Swiss yen or not. So, euro, and again, as that's loading up,
Euro in the scanner, guys, look at this. You can see Euro is basically all in consolidation patterns, meaning we were inside the last previous move, right? So let's start off with Euro Aussie. Okay, on the daily, again, you can see got a little bit of a pullback here, right? So we're in an uptrend setup, and it's not an uptrend setup that we're willing to take because we literally just came off a supply zone. But you can see because of this, we are technically on the daily stuck inside of the prior green move. And again, it did go a little bit higher. Obviously, we had the gap because of everything that was going on. But again, is this the push, the oomph, the first green of a bunch through, or is this going to collapse? And I'm in the mind that this is actually going to kind of turn and come back down again. A lot of this was based off of Aussie weakness. All the Aussie pairs right now, we're seeing some strength coming back into it. We're not hearing super bad news anymore. Now it's everybody else is having the problems. I guess Germany has a lot of cases of the coronavirus. We're not hearing as much about demand and Australian things. So I think this one is probably going to come back and retrace down. I'm still bearish. For me, this is somewhat of a pullback, so you'd be looking on the lower time frames. The 4 hours not giving us anything that we can enter. There's a small zone here. Some people would mark this off as a zone right there. Again, using the bottom of the body and the top of the wick. But as far as being a great level, I would probably go to a lower time frame. I love that song, man. Got looking down at the hourly, right? Hourly, it's kind of the same situation. Again, we got the entry up here. It hasn't punched through much, and if you look below, there's really not. Remember, the Euro Aussie was just grinding because it was all just Aussie weakness, Aussie weakness, Aussie weakness, and that's kind of what it's doing on the way back down, also. So it's kind of like, is there something, is there, a great place to enter? And I mean, really not. I mean, this is marked, but I don't like it. This I don't mind. I like this one. I think if price can rally back up to that area, that would be worth some type of a short. But this, no, I'm not a fan of that. I don't like the tops here. The tops here aren't great. This is really not great. This was at least a nice big kind of, the exit is nice. I like the way this one formed. I like, the wick that's here. I like the body that's there. But we got some room to run before we can get up there. That one is about 100 pips away. So, you're looking at just under one daily ATR on that one. And again, that's why we use ATR to figure out, what the time frame is. So, I mean, for the most part, in this situation, if we have nothing but kind of Aussie weakness and Euro strength tomorrow, and we do rally back up again, ignore this zone. This is about a day away, so this could also be a Friday morning, maybe London Open time frame for us to come up to that area. But again, at the same time, if we have that continued Aussie strength, I see this kind of pulling back to the downside. So, I mean, not much you can do. Again, that's Euro Aussie. Looking at Euro CAD. As you can see, guys, on the 4 hour, I'll pull it back to the daily. Again, we're close. On the 4 hour, we talked about this last night that we saw this area. We were sitting in this zone, right? So here's where we are now, right? And you guys can see at the very, very bottom of the page, that's at 21, right? Going back to where we were last night is here. Okay, so you can see we had just left the area and we talked about it saying, hey, listen, if you're already in, you're good, right? And if it retests, you're probably fine as well. As you can see today in this candle right here, this long one, not only did you get the entry, but you came all the way down and you need to get your 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio. And again, 4 hour zones, gotta love them. They're great. Anybody that took that one, that was about 143 pips worth of profit. So not too bad. And again, your risk to reward ratio is there. If you needed to take a smaller zone, right, because this is a bigger risk than we normally take, you just use half your position size. All right. But again, 4 hour zones, you got to love them. This thing had rallied all the way down, came all the way back up. And again, there's that nice little black space that we talked about. But all the way down to here, pulled back up, just barely touched it. But again, you guys can see we are in that zone, right? You guys see it? It is in that zone before it collapsed back to the downside. Okay. And again, didn't spend much time there, but it came down, it took you out in your profit target, your 1 to 3, and is now pulling back up again. So big question is, do we take it again? Okay. So we've hit it a few times now. It's a nice zone. Like I said, I do like the zone. The fact that we didn't spend much time in there at all, like we literally got up there and then kind of just slammed back down again, it's probably worth another shot. But the big question is, what does it look like on the lower time frame? So looking lower, again, this is the 4 hour zone. We could take a smaller version of that same trade and be able to reduce our risk. We could take it off there. That would probably be okay. So in this case, if we did something along these lines, right? Let's change this to those lines, right? Again, that's taking the lower time frame area. Again, using that last spike up. It's actually 2 spikes ago, not this is that last spike that we had. What it does is it lowers your risk in the trade. You're not taking the full thing. So taking the full 4-hour zone, you're talking about 46 pips, which is a lot, right? On the lower time frame, you're talking about 25 pips, okay? And again, that would give you about 75 to the downside here for 1 to 3 and about 130. It's actually a little bit more than 25, it looks like. It's about 29, okay? So at least that lowers it down, gives us less risk in the trade, and also makes our profit targets much closer. So we'll extend this across. So that is a potential, that's a potential setup for tomorrow if we go just a little bit higher. And again, that could be great. Even if it just meanders sideways, and then we have that news on Friday, we may get the entry on this one. So that'd be Euro CAD. Looking at Euro Swiss. Euro Swiss gets a little bit funky. Euro Swiss is pretty ugly here. This is just nothing that you really want to kind of mess with. It just, I don't know. It's not trending. It's not going lower. It's wicks in both directions. I'm just not super impressed with this right now. And again, the Swiss is pretty boring right now. Again, you can see we keep tagging this little kind of aggressive level, but I mean, with no target, no trend, I mean, it's just boom, 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 boom. Talked about it last night too. It's the same situation last night, right here last night. And all we did was come back up and touch it, come back down again, and now it looks like it's going to be higher. So, that's what it kind of looks like on the lower time frame. Not really explosive movement. Hasn't even gotten to the lower section here. I do like the lower level, but none of these top and bottom, and we can't even get to the top and bottom on this one. So, again, not forcing a trade is not worth it. So euro pound. So euro pound on the daily, you can see we came back up. We knew that we were going to have an area here where there's going to be some sellers. It was kind of like, where were the sellers going to step in? Again, this drop, sideways, and drop. And it's actually worked out pretty well. Now, we've pulled back on the daily to an area of buyers. On the 4-hour, again, you're not seeing a whole lot on the top, right? I don't think, did we get anything violated? I don't think we did. Yeah, no, there's no violation in that one. A bunch of these little tiny ones, but again, they're way too tiny. You would not take any of those. You guys can see, there's your daily. So again, looking at that one, it did okay. I would draw that a little bit differently. I would actually shrink that down to there, right? As far as pushing the top side. And again, we are in an uptrend setup. Not necessarily a bad position to take there. The risk level on that one is, it's about 30. Let's see if we can get it on a little bit lower of a time frame. Yeah, you can see the indicator actually marked it off on this one. So we'll remove this. That's not a bad little level, right? Now, because we're going to lower time frames, you can see we've switched. We knew there was a pullback on the upper time frames, which means on the lower time frames, the trend would probably be different because it's a more near-term trend. Now you're seeing that it's a downtrend setup, right? Because again, we're doing that pullback on the larger time frame. I don't mind this level. This level is not bad. I mean, it should have actually been drawn with this wick over wick like that, but it's close enough to the same area that, it wouldn't be too bad. Now, the timing of this is going to what matters the most when it enters this zone. Okay. Oops. I hear footsteps. The baby's going to barge in. The 1 to 3 area on this one is actually not a bad area if it continues to push down. That's a great little place. That's where it pulled back to. That's where the sellers would step in. Question is, do we have the catalyst for this one to kind of move? Now, tomorrow, Carney is speaking tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time. That could either be a big boost for the pound or it could kind of hurt it. Again, things that he could say that could, again, bring strength into this to drive this down could be, again, that they are not going to do the rate cuts, which means obviously the pound would be considered a more attractive currency because, again, it has higher interest rates. People want to put money there. It's kind of the whole carry trade, benefit, European weakness, I think that's just naturally kind of ingrained right now with more cases and it spreading around. Like I said, there was a lot of cases in Germany already, which is kind of surprising. So, we'll see. I mean, this one can move a lot of different ways. If we can get down to this level before he speaks, I think that could actually be a good thing. That could be actually worth taking some type of a position in this one. Only because if the market does not like what he says, if he says something stupid, again, that could be an instantaneous pop for that 1 to 3. Okay, and again, this is only hourly, so not a bad little level. On the 30-minute, it's basically the same thing. You can see it with the overlay. It makes it slightly smaller. Takes it from 18 pips down to 8 pips. So if you wanted to shrink it a little bit and go to the 30-minute level, you could absolutely do that as well. And if you did that, you're lowering your risk way back into here. So it's much closer. You'd be shooting for about 25, 30 on the top side. All right. So that'd be euro pound. Looking at euro yen. Euro yen. Like I said, this is hard to trade, right? Up, boom, up, down, and then again, you guys can see today was a flatline day. Really, wicks, little tiny body. Not much to do with that. You guys can see here. Here's the daily level right on top, and what did it do today? Nothing, right? These are 4-hour candles. So 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours, 20 hours, 24 hours. You're talking about a total movement of 18 pips today. So no trend, no trade. There's really not a whole lot we can do with this one. Here's the 30-minute, and even the 30-minute, it's just kind of, I mean, everything is little. There's just no spikes. I mean, a little bit pushed down, and it just pulled right back. Just nothing, right? Nothing. Um, like I said, I feel like the 4 hours probably, and the 4 hour encompasses that. Uh, yeah, there's just not enough, not enough anything in this one. Looks big when it's stretched out that way, but this is more what it looks like. So yeah, euro again is not in a trend, so can't really do much with it. Euro New Zealand. You guys can see Euro New Zealand is also, again, let me go to the higher time frames. Okay, you guys can see larger time frame, Euro New Zealand is pushed all the way up, right? We are sitting in this area. We've pulled back from the demand zone. We talked about that yesterday being up in that area. On the 4 hour, you can kind of see the dotted line here is the overlay from the daily, right? So we do have a supply zone. It is pushing away, and it did push down. It did retrace, and it is pushing a bit higher. It is running into a gap, though, and that's what's important to push out here. You guys see the gap right here? You have to respect that gap area, and that's what it's bounced off of 3 times. Now, it didn't make the same bounce up, so I do believe that this is actually in somewhat of a failure. And again, it kind of coincides with the other charts and European weakness, but you can see the gap here. We've hit here, we've gone a little bit lower, and again, now we're running out of steam because it's nighttime. But I do believe we'll start to push the downside. Now, big question is, will this zone here hold? And it's not the best zone, but there's a lot of these kind of like little, this is a nice pop and a retest, and that's where the gap ended. You got one right below it, so it's kind of like got some here, got some here. This I'm not concerned about, and then we're clear. So got it, and the area of here to here is really the only place we need to watch out for this thing to collapse. And then again, like I said, I think we can come all the way back down here. It has the upper level support. I mean, it is definitely, from this daily zone, it is pushing and moving to the downside. So there's definitely to be something said about that. On the hourly, kind of the same thing. We've got that bracket, and then again, we're clean pretty much down here till what 173.10, right? But looking and dissecting this on the lower level, you can see that we had a good zone. It got front run, pushed up, and then retested, and then stop, and then we gap. So, you know, those are not bad levels. Those are not bad formations. We need to be cautious with those before we get into a short position. And again, looking at the lower time frame, you guys can see we're literally consolidating back and forth. So it's going to have to clear this area, which is also part of this. So, a little bit in there, a little bit of a trader's market. So here's the euro dollar on the daily. We talked about this yesterday. You guys can see we did pop up. There's a huge zone. Whoops, not what I want to do. You guys can see that again. We got about 3/4 of the way. Probably 80% of the way through, and it retraced back up again. So, huge zone. We mentioned the other day we weren't gonna take that one. Here is the 4 hour version of it, and again, I said before, if you guys remember, not take just the top of this. Not be taking just this. I'd probably take it off the basing level. So again, I would use the same top, but then I would have used the bottom of this, basically the bottom of or the green or the bottom of the red. So either here or here, either one wouldn't have mattered. And that would have actually made this a viable target. I think actually at this point that would have completed. It would not have gone all the way down. It's 1 to 5. So that would have been a last night type trade. So we were here. We just left that area last night to the downside. And again, I think we mentioned that last night. We were about half the way through for this one to the downside. Now where we are now, I am still bearish this position. I do like the fact that this is pushed up. I don't mind that it's kind of kicked back. You're always going to have somewhat of a retrace after a big impulsive move. I do feel that this one will turn. Now again, cut rates is typically weak for the dollar, but again, I feel like that them doing their being one of the first rate cuts. The European Union was having weakness before. See this, as it gets, starts to spread there. I feel like it will spread faster and in a larger amount in Europe than it is going to in the United States. We're a little bit more separated. and cities, things like that is where you're going to see the biggest, population boom. And again, we don't have the train system that they have. I mean, people kind of understand it's like, hey, listen, we probably shouldn't get on a plane right now, so let's not travel. But in Europe, they use a lot of trains. They use a lot of public transportation that we don't use. Yeah, when you're paying $6, $7, $8 a gallon for gas, it makes sense why they don't. But again, they use a lot more public transportation, so I think that they're going to have more exposure in my eyes than we will in the United States. Um, Again, I see this coming back down again. So definitely bearish this pair. And today it only moved 27 pips in 24 hours, so we're not talking about anything blazing. Had you been short this last night, you hit your full profit target today, and that's kind of it. Let's look at Euro Singapore. So Euro Singapore on the daily. Again, you guys can see this one was high. Didn't make it all the way up top. We mentioned that yesterday. We have 3 up, but then we have 3 down. So, we were sitting here. Let's see. It's giving us the 4. Here's where we were last night. This one has moved 33 pips total. For the day, it was down 125, and then obviously rallied back up again. It did go off a zone again. This is a rally base and then rally again. It was a smaller zone. I think it was it here? Yeah, you can kind of see it here, but it's not really super clear. It's not as clean on the hourly. Even on the 30 minutes, not. I mean, really, the easiest way to see it would be on the 4-hour, would be using this red box here. Okay. Is it a big move? No, not really. I probably would not have taken it. I still am bearish this pair as well. And again, just overall bearish on the euro. So, not, nothing really crazy there. So pound, like I said, just to slide the scanner in. Oops, what did I just do? Sliding the scanner in, guys. You guys can see, I gotta bring it all across. Again, now we have a little bit more setups, but again, everything is kind of bouncing back and forth between consolidation. All right, so here's the daily, right? Big spike down, back forth, back forth. Again, yesterday was kind of an up day. We were up about 50 pips, and since where we were last night, we're down here, and now we're pushing back up again. It's a bit tempered, right? I mean, looking at this area, you say for the last 2-3 days, do we have a lot of trends going on? And not really. I mean, like I said, it's 50 pips from where we were. Right, we're here right now, and here to here, right? Not a lot, not a lot. And it's hitting things on the top side, right? So you guys can. I'm not gonna reset the indicator yet. I'm gonna let it use the old data, the old zones. Remember, when you go down and it's cutting through, it's because it needs to pull data from the upper time frames. Here, right? You guys can see we are still bouncing. Yes, we went slightly lower, but then we came up and bounced again and bounced again. So it is literally stuck within this little range here, and it's about 130 pip range. So it isn't bad, but you can kind of see we're having a harder time reaching that top zone. Now this bottom zone here, I mentioned yesterday, it's not the best zone. It's actually a retest of down here. We knew there was buyers sitting right below it because when it gapped, it stopped. So if anything, you got to understand that there's something sitting right below there. Okay. Not sure how big it is because it gapped and then boom, it popped and it popped from that same exact level. So we know there's buyers right below. It went slightly lower and those buyers turned it around, right? The top zone is definitely, I think, a better zone to be able to take. It came up, it stopped, and then it exploded to the downside. So if we can get up into this, where are we at? 138.90-ish range, 138.88. I think that's actually not a bad level to take if we can get up that high. The 1 to 3 and the 1 to 5 are actually both in areas that I kind of like. We are kind of about 50% kind of between the top and bottom here, so it's not quite there yet. But I do actually kind of like that area. I love the way we had this large explosive candle, and then I followed up with another red behind it. So that's kind of what I'm looking for right now is a 138.88 to 139.18. It's a 1-hour level. You guys can adjust it accordingly on yours. And in fact, look, you can actually even probably shrink it a little bit more on the lower time frame. And again, that puts these things well within range on the 30-minute. Okay. And you guys can see, look, I marked off this area. Again, I didn't know where the actual risk level was. I just know that it's here. You can see based off of this level, you did get a test here and it continued through. Again, these 30-minute levels have just been just fire the last couple of days. Again, they're man, they're hitting again and again and again. This one would have, let's see. Let's pop the time off so it resets. We're at 21:30 right now. Actually, that one would have triggered last night. That would have been a bounce from last night, just after chart school. But we did not kind of re-enter it again. So, yeah, if you were in, we may have mentioned that. I don't even remember. 12 things. Does the indicator now draw the higher time frame zones and dotted lines? Yeah, that's an overlay function. If you have the indicator, you guys see the little tab over here. Okay, it's grayed out, but when you click it, now you see, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it says 1 hour. So what it's doing is it is now painting the 1 hour overlay inside the dotted line. And I can go up and I can hit the 4 hour, which again, you don't see any 4 hour. Actually, you see the 4 hours way up here. And it goes up, I think 3, and then yeah, there's your daily, and then it goes off again. So it does 3 time frames. So if I'm on the 4 hour, the first time I click it, it'll be daily, right? So there, I can see my daily zones are up top, so I can tell, yeah, it's probably a pretty good zone, right? I can click it again, and there's my weekly zones, and I see nothing. Weekly zones are way up here, and then click it again monthly. So it does 3, right? If you go down to, say the 30-minute, again, what you're going to see is you're going to see the hourly, 4 hour, and then daily. And again, if we do 5 minutes, right? There's your 5-minute zones. There's your 15-minute zones. And again, I can't really see any of them right now. You know what? I got to go to 15 first. I got to populate it. Okay, there you go. There's your 15-minute zones. There's your 30-minute zones. There are your hourly zones. Yeah. Yeah, I told you can do a lot of stuff with this. So yeah, so that's what we're looking for with the pound yen. Let's go CAD. So pound CAD, I'm still waiting for this level to be hit. So again, here on the daily, we did bounce off this lower time area. This again, nice kind of bounce in. We had marked this off the other day. Man, you guys ever get like a grain of salt on the mouse, and when you go to move it, you're like, oh wait, I can tell there's something on there. On here, no, because it's not smooth and it makes noise. Drive me nuts. Like, yeah, you hear the crunch under your mouth? Yeah, that's what I was hearing. This is actually, I actually blew up my, didn't blow it up, but the last mouse kind of died, so I stole this one. My son kind of likes this one. It's a wireless, but the battery is kind of going in it, so I just leave it wired all the time. Um, it's okay. You know, it's a Logitech mouse. I'm probably going to get another one soon. I actually need to upgrade my keyboard before the mouse. And again, I have a Razer mouse pad, on an LED mouse pad, so it's a hard mouse pad. So God forbid there's anything there, you can hear it. Chips on the mouse. Yeah. No, actually, I got you guys those big ones. I still have a small one. I have the LED one. I did get my son an LED. His is one of those neoprene LED ones, and the lasers don't work bad on those. But typically, I like a hard, the hard mouse pad. Um, but yeah, so I sent you guys the real big wide ones. I should probably get one of those, but um, I like my LED kind of setup. So again, on the daily, we popped on this one. Looking at the 4 hour, you guys can see, again, we rallied up nice. We did not get a re-entry in this one. The hourly is kind of what I was looking at. So the hourly, we did come down, and we did get a nice little piece here. And again, I didn't get this one. Here's where we are right now. This one occurred at about 9 o'clock this morning. I was getting the kids out to the bus for this one. Um, Again, this is kind of an oil pop, right? Went down, grabbed, and then kind of pushed all the way back up again and then stopped. So there was a bit of a trade on this one. Again, 30-minute zone. You guys can see here on the 30-minute, same thing. Grab the same thing. So 30-minute and hourly, I'm pretty sure it's the same zone. Yeah, it's just slightly different, but more or less same setup. Went up, and where did it stop? Right there. Okay. There is the zone that you would have had to use as a target. And you can see it literally came right in. Came back up. Where's the opposing zone? First time it's clean. Drop sideways, a big drop to the downside. And that's where we end up hitting. So great setup in the pound cat. I know it's not one that everybody looks at. This one has a spread that goes between 2 and 3, so it is a little bit bigger than something like the euro dollar, but not a bad little setup at all. And it's a way to play. Again, the pound actually does have some exposure to oil as well. You guys heard of BP, British Petroleum. So you do have a little bit of exposure as well. And again, nice little pop, nice little retest. Looking at pound dollar. Pound dollar is up 53 for the day. Again, it kind of turned, really not a clear zone over here. Again, it's still doing that same kind of equidistant channel to the downside. On the 4 hour, you can see that, is there really a trend here? No, not really. Not really, and really nothing even easy to grab. On an hourly, you can see what have we done on the hourly. We're unable to get any of these pullbacks, right? Pullbacks didn't really occur because, again, we are here. Let's see, timer 22, and let's see, we were right came down, no, back up, and look at this. It stopped. Didn't even get to the level, right? On the 30-minute, you can see this is what we're looking at. Back, you guys can see it. Here is where we were last night. We didn't even go into this level. Didn't give us an entry, and you guys can see, look at that. Wick over wick, stop, smack dead in the middle of it. On it, unfortunately, we weren't able to I don't, and I'm gonna say this right now, I don't. On a 30-minute level, I do like this one a lot better, although it's not really a fresh zone, so it's kind of like it's aggressive but not fresh. As I mentioned last night, I think that's probably a much better zone up here at 129.31. But like I said, the aggressive one may be the better target on this one. I see there being more dollar strength coming in. With the day of speeches tomorrow, he could either say something really, really good or something really, really stupid. And if he says something really, really stupid, don't be surprised if this thing heads right to the. Okay. Definitely could see that one being a barrier. Aussie. Okay, so Aussie again is popping up again. We were unable to get. We mentioned that we had zones down here. You guys can see it here on the daily. A lot of wicks, a lot of indecision. Again, pulling back. Very similar to the Euro Aussie as well, as Australian strength is coming back into the markets. You can see we had an area where if price got down to it, we were looking for a setup. We didn't get it. We got front run, unfortunately, on it. You guys can see we got pretty close, and it turned and went away from us. So unfortunately, this one we have to take off, but we just didn't get an entry on it. It did go back up, and it is having problems. This is where our target was, and that's what's kind of running into right now. Not much, but it's consolidating. Look, you guys can see we have a double stack layer here, and again from the top. This zone, it's a bit big. It's about 45 pips, so not necessarily interested. This would have been more of an entry for me on the 30-minute. I like this 30-minute level much better. I like the way that it's formed, although again, it is part of a prior base. So unfortunately, there's not really tons super clean until we get back up in. But you can see it's starting to stack areas of buyers below, and again, a little tiny, very tiny level for this one. It's got a 22 pip ATR, and this one is like 7 pips, 8 pips. So it's kind of like 1/3. It's pretty small. Yeah, pretty small. Can't do much with it. But overall, this one, again, looking at this one on the daily, I do see this one continuing to push the downside. I have to say, I do definitely have a weakness note on this one. I like to see the pound, a little bit stronger. But what I'm seeing in this chart, I'm seeing that it's making attempts. It's stabbing lower and getting pushed up, but then it's finding sellers. So I do think the pound Aussie is also a sell tomorrow. It's just finding something on a lower time frame. And again, we typically like to use news releases that actually have some type of data feature with it. But with everything going on and as much focus is going on to the virus, I just don't. I think we could actually use this as an actual news event tomorrow if it comes out at the right time. That's going to be the big key, is if it does come out at noon. All right, so that's pound Aussie. I'm looking at pound Singapore. Pound Singapore, you guys can see this. We were talking about it, right? Could we get the entry? And the answer is no. Answer is no. We got pretty close, right? Again, we're here. This is 4. Here, I'll reset it. Where we were last night, and we said if we can get down to this zone, we'd be willing to take it. Got front run on this one. We're almost at 1-to-5 risk to reward ratio. Nothing we can do about it. When we look back, we thought we were clear. This last one tested right to the top of the zone. This one turned right before, and again, there's nothing more frustrating than realizing that, man, I just missed that trade. This was a nice runner. First target was about 110 pips. Right now, it's currently up 178 pips, and it's only got about another 10 pips to go until this one is at its 1-to-5, which I think is actually a valid level. I think that's a good spot for it. I think price will go up there. And again, talked about it last night. Unfortunately, we missed the entry on there. So close, but yet so far. All right. At this point, I'd wait for it to kind of continue and either come back up in this range or go back down. This level is probably good for one more hit. We'll see. What I would do is I'd recommend setting an alert down here. The entry's at 176.66, so I would set an alert probably like 176, like 90. 176.90 puts you in this range, in this area, and gives you enough of a time to be able to get back to your computer and again, see if we can get an entry into it. So that's what we do there. Pound Swiss, kind of the same thing. Here's the daily. We got so close. I'm not touching it. It's just way too close to the zone. I want to see what it does if we form like a basing level here, but we're just so close, right? We're so close to that zone, and it's skirting right along the top. I don't even think playing this one on a lower time frame is really worth it until we can hit that zone. It's a 4-hour and daily zone, kind of. Right? Just you guys didn't remember from last night. It's 121.49 to 127. Um, there. Pound New Zealand. Again, this one bounced off that that supply. Pushed down and it's kind of just stayed there. You can see the bodies are very, very small. A little bit of wickiness back and forth. On the lower time frame, you can see where that came from. Hourly, kind of the same thing, but again, we're stuck in this same kind of frame here. We've been here a while, and we're talking about about a 60 pip range, but no real clean entries top or bottom. Okay, we are starting to see them come lower, and we are starting to see them. So, bit of consolidation again. All right, looking at the New Zealand pair. Back right, but what are we doing? Highs. Here's the 4-hour. Okay, does this look like it has a heartbeat? Right? Again, it's not one of the main pairs. No trend, no trade on that one. New Zealand CAD, you can see New Zealand CAD is an interesting setup where we are right now. We did take this bounce off this daily zone and again missed it just by a little bit, but the 4-hour, we are hitting an area that we do have to show some respect to because again, last time price was here, it pushed down and it was a kind of a drop of about 65, 70 pips. So there is a valid zone kind of above where we are. I think taking it on the hourly is probably the best bet. You can see that we kind of tickled it here, got front run here. So it would be something along the lines of there. Getting short 85.50 to 85.61. It's only an 11 pip risk on that one. It's got about a 2 pip spread, so you want to make sure you add a little bit of buffer into that one. But I'm okay with the 1 to 3 area. The 1 to 5 maybe a little bit far, but I think you would be okay on that one. And again, New Zealand CAD, that will obviously be affected by the Canadian numbers on Friday. So this could be another one. Keep it on your watch list. Again, if we just kind of go sideways, if we can't really break higher, this will be one. Again, ideally, we'd like to see this up here before the news on Friday morning. Okay, if we are up here before the news at like say 8 o'clock, 7:30, then again you'd be looking to take shorts on this one going into the news to the downside, and again that would be a little bit CAD strength coming back into the markets. New Zealand dollar. Okay, you guys can see here on the daily, we took the bounce, and now again it's dealing with a bunch of this chunking to the downside. Here's the 4-hour. It's we kind of hit this one little level here, but what has it done since? Nothing. Nothing, right? Clicking the time, here's where we are now, and here's where we were last night, right here. So we've moved a total of 11 pips in 24 hours. Not enough meat in this one for us to really trade. We'll move on. And then again, here is the yen. We are looking for an entry. Obviously, this one we're leaving on. This is where we gapped last Sunday, right? Well, a couple days ago, right? We gapped in, we pulled back up, hit that basing level here, right where the 1 to 3 target is. And since that time, once we hit, we have not moved in basically 2 days, 3 days at this point. So again, we still have the valid entry down here at 66.55 to 66.05 on a 4-hour. That's something we can look for on, if we can get back. Again, doesn't move as much as the other pairs. Going down to the US dollar pairs. What do we got here? We won't start. We'll start with the dollar yen. So dollar yen, we know moved minus 15 pips in 24 hours. Again, this one looks just like the Dow, came down, slammed into this zone, took a little bit longer, gave us the pop, and now we have a little bit of a pullback. So we already know we're sitting in demand, so we need to be a little bit more bullish biased, right? As you can see on the 4-hour, the zone is not necessarily as close. If I overlay that one, you can see this is what it bounced off of, the daily zone. So it was close, right? We got some sellers above, but I see consolidation here because we already know that buyers stepped into the daily zone, right? We have this wick over wick, and now we've shown that we've had an issue going through that one, right? On the hourly, this is what we got going on the hourly, okay? You can see here that this is overlaying the 4-hour zones. There's the daily zone, right? So I'll mark this off. Here's the daily zone. Right? There's the 4-hour zone. So as you guys can see, this one is like a sandwich, right? We're smashed in between two pieces of bread. We do have 60 pips in either direction, but the problem is the risk level in these is about 38 to the top side and about 36 to the bottom side. So you're taking basically half, right? It's at most it's a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio trade, and this is down on the lower time frame, right? We're on an hourly right now. Okay. On the 30 minutes, you can see again this one. I'll take the overlays off. You can see it's kind of the same thing. We really didn't have much to retrace. We had a little level here back to the downside. Let's see, when did that hit? Oh, that was too long ago. Let's see. We're here last night, right? So in this little area here, was there any entry? No, we got nothing. Nothing. No entries on this one. Again, probably if we can get back up our about 80 pips from that area now, and we have an ATR of 103, although that 103 is kind of jacked up right now because of these. I'd say it's much lower than 103, but it's jacked up because of this big spike up and then the big spike back down again. So I'd say the average ATR on this one is probably closer to like 65, maybe 70. It's probably a little that zone is probably a little bit far, and the only reason it's 103 right now is because of you have a red day here that is 228 pips, and you have a green day over here that is again 180 pips. So that kind of jacks up the ratios. All right. So for me on this one, again, you guys are seeing we're not really moving much. It's minus 15 pips in 24 hours. No trend, nothing super close to it. CAD Swiss. CAD Swiss did not quite get to the daily zone. It is pulling back now. Again, this is also consolidating. Lower highs, higher lows. Again, there's your 4-hour. You can see there's absolutely no movement whatsoever. We still have a zone marked off up here that starts at 96.28 and goes to 96.53, right? Again, that little kind of gap, kind of sideways movement and then crash is basically the only entry we have on it. Dropping down to the 30-minute. You can see there's a little tiny zone, but technically that is too small. We mentioned that last night. You could shrink this zone up here a little bit if you wanted to. A little bit smaller. I don't think it's that big a risk. It's only about 13 pips, so it's not even big, but you guys can see even the hourly, no movement, right? No movement. It's going to happen. We'll see if we can get some movement out of it tomorrow. I don't think Kaplan can move the market, unfortunately. He doesn't have enough clout. Now, daily for the CAD. So the CAD, as we mentioned before, I like the top zone. I like the bottom zone. We're smack in the middle. We really didn't move too much on the daily. You guys can see it went up, it went down, and didn't move. It is 45 pips higher than it was because yesterday, again, we have pushed a bit higher. But this is what it's looked like, right? We pushed up, we pushed down, and then we've kind of rallied back this direction. So here's where we are right now, and here's where we were last night, right here. So this is all we've done. We've gone from here to here. And it was higher at one point. It was up 90. But then again, it is pulled back at this point. So we're not even hitting 4-hour levels. On the hourly, you can see kind of the same thing. We did have a brief touchdown here, but this was like super fast. This was at this was at about 9 o'clock this morning. Again, the 9 o'clock CAD, right? The pound CAD did the same exact thing, right? It came down a touch and then boom, it popped up for the day. So same thing at 9 a.m. But what do we got here, right? Like, right in the middle, right? So I actually like the top and the bottom of this one, but we're in the middle. So again, if you guys want to set alerts for being notified when we get up here or the downside, that's probably not a bad idea. We probably will see some movement, like I said, at 12:45 tomorrow. BOC speaks. They are going to mention the virus, obviously, and again, people are going to be hinging upon what they say. I see this one kind of running more or less flat until that time, and then at 12:45 tomorrow during lunch, when we already have light U.S. traders in, that could be kind of the catalyst to set this thing off one way or the other. Now, I typically like to use 4-hour levels, as you guys know, for news. And again, these are two valid news areas up top. Okay, again, nice upper curve, and again, something down here sitting in the middle. So that's not bad. I would use this one more or less for spikes up and down. If we do rally higher, again, like I said, if we are on the hourly sitting up inside that zone before the news, then you're kind of have a news breakout scenario. If we spike up to it because of what the speech says, again, then we can play a parabolic retracement after the fact. Okay, so that's what I expect there. And then Singapore, again on this one, it's we had a bit of a pullback. We kind of expected it. We had this wick over wick. We marked this off yesterday. There's your wick over wick, and you can see we bounced off of it and kind of had a little bit of a pop. That would have been a target for any of the the downside movement. And again, I know we marked this one off yesterday. It'll probably bang into it a couple more times. I see this one kind of the same thing. We'll see. I mean, I don't To me, it looks like this one wants to continue pushing down. Obviously, it was all the virus exposure, and now it's spreading, right? At first, it was like, oh God, it's in Singapore, right? It's bad, horrible, and now it's starting to affect the U.S. So we're seeing it pull back again. I do think the eventual target on this one will be much lower, but again, keep it right. All right, looking at the other fun pairs. Here's oil, right? Here's the level that we were talking about last night, right? And we said that there was your oil trade, okay? So here's where we are right now. You guys can see 22 at the bottom, and last right here at 22. And I said, hey, listen, if we can rally up overnight, I'd love to take this trade south, but I don't really care. I'm not really married to long or short one. I said if we were to get down here again, I'd take it long if we got there before news. And it was driving at about 3 o'clock this morning when the London Open kicked in. It looked like it was going to be more of a bottom side long. And then after the London Open happened, it rallied back up again. Right about here, about 9 o'clock is when we started. It started moving away. Sean made that post right here at 9:30 saying, "Oh God, look, it's pushing away." Here's the actual oil news release. Came back up again, and then what do we have? The collapse all the way down through your 1 to 3 and 1 to 5. So your entry was 48.40. First target was 47.44, and it went all the way down to 46.80. Hope you guys got that one again. We labeled that one out. Disregard these boxes over here. I was talking about how to do add-on. But that's where we are with oil. Now, is the top and bottom still valid? I'd say probably is. We know that there's sellers up top. We know that there's buyers down here. We'll see what happens in either direction. I mean, again, it didn't spend very much time here. It did hit it twice. But again, nice moving away. Hit the bottom, and again, this is not the entry. This is the target from this trade. Came back up, came back down. That would have been the entry to the top side. So there was your top, right? Here is your bottom trade. Whoops. Come on. There we go. You can see it didn't quite make it the 1 to 3, and it's pushing up. So we'll see if this one has the same oomph, if this one is able to make it fully. If you took this long right here, again, this is where you would have taken this one on the 30-minute. Not here. Here's where you've taken this one. You would have gotten into 46.87, and we're up, what, about 70, 80 cents at this point. About 60, about 70 cents, right? So not a bad overnight since that time. You'd have obviously locked in profit. You're not taking a loss on this one. You're pretty clean. And again, the 30 minutes and the hours is what you got to look for on oil. At this point is just Quinn's like, those boxes look familiar. Yeah, we talked about it earlier. All right, looking across here at gold. So gold. Did gold have a crazy day today? Not really. I mean, here, this was the down, this was the back up again, where it was like, buy gold, inflation is high. And I said, maybe. I mean, it was pushing up inside of a daily demand zone. Or, I'm sorry, a daily supply zone. There was its response. Here's your 4 hour. Was there really a big response? Nope. Here's your hourly, right? I'll stretch it out so it looks really exciting. Was there a big response? No. I mean, obviously, you guys know what happened here, right? This is the interest rate cut. Boom. Down, and it has flatlined. Stopped. But wait a second. I mean, we cut the interest rate. Shouldn't there be outrageous inflation? No, not really. Again, it's not necessarily an issue. Now, Kaplan will probably, affect us a little bit tomorrow. Why you need to learn multiple markets. When you have people who are like, no, I just trade gold. Here's your 30. Right? Not really a whole lot you can kind of do in here. Again, little zone here, but I would. Flat, right? Now look at silver. Okay. Silver kind of has the same thing. A little bit more movement, but nothing crazy. I mean, here it is on the daily. We pulled up, and then again, consolidation. Again, I prefer the small levels at this point. You guys can see the 4 hour got hit here. Here's the 1 hour level, and again, that's the one we talked about that drop back down again. It did hit your 1 to 3, but again, since that time, it really hasn't done much. It had a little bit more fluctuation than gold did. You guys can see a little bit more back and forth. It wasn't quite as flat, but again, it really didn't necessarily leave the area. So, gave you minor. Again, you could have taken, let me delete this. Again, that zone is still valid. That's, by the way, this is a hand-drawn zone, just FYI. That's off the 4 hour. You could have taken something along these lines. There was small things in here. What, 1726, 1728? I mean, very, 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 very small amount, right? And you ended up hitting, your targets on that one. But definitely much more of an intraday type, settings. There's your 15-minute. You can see, level and then another level and then another level. whenever you see the stacking of levels like this, you can tell that it's just in consolidation. Look, had a high here, lower high, 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 lower high. It's just consolidating down. And again, on the flip side, here's a low, right? You had some up here, and again, that kind of, but again, lower, or I'm sorry, low, higher, higher. So it's kind of doing that same consolidation, kind of going in, waiting for some type of an explosion. It's waiting for something, but again, I can't. We're not going to do the analysis, at night for the morning. This is definitely a more in touch with what's happening now type thing. So Nasdaq, okay, as you guys can see, the Nasdaq again rallied up, gapped, rallied, pulled back, and then again another green day, and now it's pulling back a little bit. So on the 4-hour, this one was actually a little bit harder to grab. There really wasn't many opportunities to get into this one long. On the hourly, there's kind of better. And again, you had a short situation here and a very, very minor short here. This short came in, God, I would think that was actually not today. That was yesterday, right? Yeah, we were here last night. You can see we were here on the hourly. Really not a lot to go, get into on this one. Same thing. Let's see. Here we are. Let's go back and find the 22. You guys can see 22 is right here. Not really a ton to get into, right? Typically you like to get that nice little kind of pullback into a good fresh area. Had we pulled back down here, it would have been not a bad long, but again, all we did was go up. We grabbed this zone, which is really kind of a crappy zone, and just turned and flipped over it in the last couple, last 6 hours or whatever. So looking at the larger time scale, larger levels, I think the 1 hour has given us kind of the best idea. Like I said, we have this area that we're banging off of, kind of pushing down. Kind of hard. I mean, like I said, even on the daily, we are retracing up. It is doing kind of what it's supposed to be doing. This is a pullback. It's a little bit red right now. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we have kind of, again, a minor day waiting for the non-farm payroll numbers on Friday, but it's a little bit negative, right? If it's a little bit negative, it helps get a little bit cheaper of a price going into non-farm payroll Friday morning, and then we can end off the week on a big green. And then again, after the last week, that would make sense that we would do that. Now, I mean, again, the numbers could come in horrible, but they're, the forecasts right now are not bad, but not too many setups on this one. Like I said, this is going to be a kind of a morning thing. Again, you're looking at the Dow, okay? The Dow, again, same thing, this big up and down. Again, we have pulled quite a distance away now from that daily zone. Looking at on the 4-hour, we had marked these levels off. I don't forget we marked those off. We marked those off before. They must be 1-hour levels. Again, not much in here. Here's where 4-hour. Here's where we are now, and here's where we were last night. So went up. No possible chance to re-enter. These are the levels that we marked off last night. Again, these are my kind of hand-drawn levels. We have that. I'm still kind of holding both those. I think both of those are, obviously valid. Here's where price is now. And again, last night we were talking about this. Price was sitting right here. So is there anywhere to enter? No. And here's your 30-minute. Same thing. Let me set that. 22 and our 20. So was there any pullbacks? Was there anything super clean? Nope. Nothing. Like I said, came all the way through here, 7, 9, 10, 10:30, 12, and then at about 12:30 is where we started to get a little bit of movement, but just not much, right? I mean, even these lower time frames, I mean, if we're dropping down on the 15-minute, you can see even in the 15-minute, that's the only place where we had any type of little tiny pullback if you want to go that low. All right, so for me, like I said, I'd be focusing on this top two sections, either way, short up top. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually rally up a little bit over here overnight and then open up the market here to take this one for a short tomorrow morning. That's kind of what it looks like it wants to do. If we pull down to here, though, I think, again, it may be a little bit more of a flat market. Unless there's any, like, crazy breaking news, right? And then last but not least, let's look at the S&P, okay? S&P on the daily, again, the same back and forth, crazy movement, right? Solid bars, not much. Again, this is what it normally looked like. And then, bam, we got all this craziness for a couple days. On the 4-hour, kind of the same thing. It's rallying up. This is really not the best zone here. Like I said, I don't like how this red candle is higher. I think this is a better zone up top here, this basing level. It did spend, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candles there, which lowers its probability of being kind of the stopping point. But again, we're having a little bit of problems with it, so I can't knock it too much. On the 1-hour, I think the 1-hour is still where we need to be. Again, consolidation back in. We were sitting right here is where we were last night. So kind of the same situation. Looks very, very similar. Didn't even get into the top or bottom of this area, right? 30-minute, kind of the same thing. That's what we got on the 30-minute, right? We are here right now. Here, back chances, right? Not a wick, right? You're taking the wick, which is the candle body itself. So really no entries. And again, this is what you're going to do. So, people that are out there that are just trading futures, I mean, gold basically went sideways. The indices went up slightly today. I wouldn't say that they were really the best things to get long, and there's really no indication that it was going to go higher. Nothing really driving it, no real zones, and again, obviously lower volume. And oil, we had the one trade. So, I mean, really, in my eyes, guys, today, that one oil and then the one, what was it, the Euro Aussie trade, I think are the only two, or Euro CAD. Was it EuroCAD? EuroCAD or pound CAD. They were really the only really true setups today that we would have had. Again, that's just going to happen. A little bit slower day. We saw it across the markets. Hopefully tomorrow's better with the speeches, but if not, expect some explosions on non-farm payroll. We typically don't have multiple days in a row. Um, at this point too, we've had so much craziness Monday and Tuesday. Not necessarily surprised. This is getting a little bit flat. I mean, like I said, look at the size of these candles here. These individual candles. I mean, look at this. Look at the size of these bodies of these candles and this movement versus what we normally see. And these are all daily candles, right? These are all normal days versus this. It shrinks everything. Okay, so yeah, so not necessarily surprised. All right, so that's what we have. All right, let's go ahead and do the giveaway. Go ahead and guys, I know everybody likes to snipe this thing at the end. I'll give you guys a little bit of time. Exclamation point ticket to get into this thing. Who are we missing in here? We got no James in here. I see Josh. He's in there. The new people are not in it, doesn't look like. James is not in there yet, so James is going to try to snag it right at the very, very end. There's James's. Who else are we missing? I know we're missing some people in here. Will, are you in there? Yeah, Will's in. He doesn't play those games. He gets in early. Is in. Yeah, she's in. All right, James has got 2. James is going for tonight. And then Gallo's in. Gallo good. Oh man, if Gallo wins, Ernest is going to be so mad. All right, so I will give you guys 30 more seconds. Exclamation point ticket if you're going to snag it at the very, very end. And like I said, still haven't done the adjustments. I was dealing with the boy again today. But we will get those done hopefully by the end of the week. And we will do the 2 drawing as well. Again, if you win both of them, you get 100 pip chips. If not, we will just do it based off of the 1 and go from there. So 10 seconds more, and I'm closing it down, guys. Closing it down on this one. All right, let's see. Who is the winner tonight? No, second winner is just to see if you get double the, 4 times the pip chips. So James pulls it out tonight with the. Now the question is, James wins again. James going to be the first double winner. Remember, people get back to backs all the time. Like we've had many people that have back to backs. Let's see if James does it, and if James got the 100 pip chips tonight, right? And the second winner is Bill. All right, so James only gets his 25 pip chips tonight. Man, I was kind of hoping. I was like, man, that would be kind of crazy. James comes in there and steals this one, gets 2 tickets, takes both victories. Pretty interesting. Now, I'm going to click the other winner. Obviously, James is going to be the winner, but I want to see, I'm curious to see, I got to wait 2 seconds. I wanted to make sure that James go through. Ernest obviously does not have his hacks in tonight. Oh, so yes. Oh, so we have to change it so you can only win once. All right, so you can only win once. So we're gonna have to check that out. Ernest was the biggest loser tonight, right? So yes, you can only win 1 time. So I'll have to change it and see if you can win 2 times. That's interesting. But Ernest, you were the biggest loser tonight. I went through the entire list of entrants, and you came up last. No, I'm not giving the farm away. Nope. Ernest gets the biggest loser tonight. So, market's complete. Obviously, everybody is not getting all those things. It's only going to be James. James coming back again. I can't wait to see the memes tonight in the channel. It'll be good stuff. All right, guys. So like I said, reminder, I will be at a lacrosse meeting tomorrow night. I will not be there. Make sure you guys are on there. Tell all your friends that KTS Eva is coming out and helping us out tomorrow night. It's going to be a 7 p.m. start. Sean or Ernest, if you guys can make sure, or James, whoever's in there, make sure you guys post in a Discord channel. Like I said, I will be in a meeting. I don't know how well my reception is going to be, as well as I won't have the links, but she will come online a couple minutes beforehand. I believe she is set up on Restream, so I think she gets it for, I think it will be on both Twitch and YouTube, but it may just be Twitch tomorrow night. So any of the YouTube followers, make sure you jump over on Twitch. Any of the new people that are in there as well, please go ahead and join the Discord channel if you guys want. It is free. We talk trading. You're more than welcome to ask questions in there. Trader003, if you're still here, you're more than welcome to ask some questions in there. It's an easier format for us to kind of answer them versus doing the, during the live broadcast. All right, so you guys have a good trading day. Like I said, speeches tomorrow. You guys should go and try to get some trade setups on that Aussie figure, and then non-farm payroll Friday. If the baby is cooperating, maybe I'll get on and do a bit of a broadcast on Friday morning for non-farm. All right, you guys take care, and I'll catch you guys later.